I'd like to start this video off with a huge disclaimer. I am not a Versus channel, I am not a power scaling channel, and I am not in the Versus community online much deeper than the surface level. The deepest I delve into this type of community is online shows such as Death Battle or videos of, would X universe survive Y person invading or stuff similar to that. So let's get this out of the way. Death Battle has returned after a lengthy hiatus, with their latest episode, that being Bardock versus Omni-man. And if you clicked on this video, then you more than likely agree with what a majority of the community says, and that is that Death Battle got this episode wrong in both their research and the outcome. Drastically downplaying feats from Bardock and overscaling feats from Omni-man, or giving him feats that shouldn't apply or are non-applicable. I'm not going to go to the very bottom of the in-depth math and calculations of all the stated feats for both characters. If you want to see something like that, just go to the Power Scaling Wiki or similar forums for those. But what I will do is lay out the easiest and most obviously wrong scalings that Death Battle themselves have provided and got incorrect. Now, let's deal with the disc-shaped elephant in the room. Number one of the wrong things they got was the sun disk. And I'm going to give you a quick rapid fire of what is wrong, inconsistent, assumed, and overall just shouldn't be calculated or contributed to Omni-man's feats in the first place. It is just assumed that the laser the Coalition is using can't hurt Viltrumites based on the statement that they don't possess any weapons capable of harming Viltrumites. When in the first episode of Invincible, Omni-man was getting hurt by Warwoman's mace and knocked off balance by Darkwing's explosives. Now, they aren't given exact alloys either, but I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that Darkwing's knockoff batarangs and Warwoman's mace aren't stronger than the Coalition's space laser. In the fight against the Guardians of the Globe, Omni-man was beaten nearly to death to the point of being comatose. It took multiple days, if not weeks, in the hospital before he would even wake up from a coma, and I'm going to once again assume that none of the Guardians of the Globe are stronger than the Coalition's space laser's destructive capabilities. Now, in the comic books, it was a much more one-sided fight, with Omni-man taking the victory in a single comic book panel. However, later on in the comic books, in an alternate timeline, they were able to beat him when they had a rematch. Now, yes, they did have Invincible's help as well, but they still beat him because they were ready and weren't caught in an ambush. And the fact that Omni-man used an ambush in both the comics and the TV show suggests the fact that they were a formidable foe, at least to the point where he couldn't take them straight on, and needed an ambush to at least give himself a leg up. In the comic books, it gave him a one-sided victory with almost no effort. In the TV show, they were caught off guard, but thanks to Red Rush, it wasn't just an immediate wipeout of the Immortal, and it was a very hard-fought battle to the point where Omni-man nearly died. If that's not enough for you, then how about when in an alternate universe, Omni-man was killed with, quote, experimental quantum bombs that left an impact that cost most of Europe? The other universes in Invincible are supposed to be close mirrors of the main universe, so it'd be logical to say that the Omni-man from those worlds are similar in all stats to the Omni-mans from the primary universe. Now, I can keep going on and go throughout the comic books of Invincible and name all of the things that harmed Omni-man or bloodied him or nearly killed him that are weaker than the space laser that destroyed the sun disk. However, in order to stop this from becoming a ramble video, I'm going to stop myself here, but just know there are more examples of things that have hurt Omni-man or nearly killed him that are weaker than a laser that can destroy something of that magnitude. So, let's not let this turn into a ramble, and let's get to the main source of contention in determining these characters' powers, and that is planet busting. The planet of Viltrum is supposed to be roughly 14 times the size of the Earth, given their own measurements. But they gave Omni-man the full credit for its destruction, or at the very least, didn't mention anything stating otherwise. For the planet to be destroyed, they needed 2 more Viltrumites of similar strength, that being Mark and Thetis. In addition, they also needed Space Racer to shoot the planet and destabilize its core. And they stated that if they didn't time it right, it would kill all 3 of them on impact. Now, being very generous, Omni-man should only receive a third of the credit for its destruction, but it's more realistically a lower number, given that they also needed the planet to be unstable in the first place in order to even attempt to destroy it. Now, one thing I will give them in favor of Omni-man is his speed scaling. It is stated that in the Invincible guidebook, travel speed and combat speed are relative to each other, aka if you can travel across the universe in X amount of time, you can also fight at that speed. I'm going to give them credit where credit is due in the things that they did get right in terms of scaling, and speed is one of them. Now, given these feats, how does Bardock stack up? Well, let's get the really, really, really big one out of the way. They openly scaled Bardock's power to that of King Vegeta when they have a similar power level. King Vegeta, with a wave of his hand, almost effortlessly wiped out 3 planets as if he was swatting away a fly. So to say that these characters are similar in strength would be very disingenuous and very wrong. Even giving Omni-Man full credit for the destruction of Viltrum, even though he only did a third, it still wouldn't match King Vegeta's output in that scenario. The gap would be closer, but Omni-Man would still come up short in terms of destructive capabilities and in terms of power. And that's not even mentioning that they gave Bardock his Great Ape form and his Super Saiyan form. Great Ape being a 10 times multiplier to your power, and Super Saiyan being a 50 times multiplier to your power. In Dragon Ball, power is relative to all of your other stats. Having a higher power level means you are stronger and superior to them in almost every single way. During the Namek arc, Burger was stated to be the, quote, fastest in the universe by his own words. Now, his teammates did not correct him on this, so it is implied that they also believe that he is the fastest in the universe. Yet when Goku showed up with his drastically higher power level, he was able to outspeed him because his power level was higher. During the tournament between Universe 6 and Universe 7, Goku was also able to outspeed Hit's time stop ability simply by having a higher power level due to stacking Super Saiyan Blue on top of Kaioken. This made his power level drastically higher, and he was able to outspeed someone who could literally skip forward in time. What I'm trying to say with this is that raising your power level also raises your capabilities in every single way. Reaction time, strength, speed, and durability. Goku, when he let his guard down, got shot right through the chest with a simple laser. This proves that when your power level is low enough, your durability drops, implying that when you raise your power level, your durability increases. So if you were to stack a 10 times or even a 50 times multiplier on top of all of that, even giving Omni-Man the unfair edge that he would have if you give him full scaling with destroying Viltrum single-handedly, the power gap is already very close, but then those transformations would just widen it once again. Now, another thing in Omni-Man's favor is his battle experience. He is over 2,000 years old, so naturally he would have seen more combat and be able to adapt quicker to tricks and different types of fighting styles, and also given the fact that smart atoms help him adapt to a fight as it's going on. But even with all of that experience doesn't really matter if your opponent is far stronger than you and far faster than you. Being a better fighter wouldn't really matter if you can't hit your opponent faster than they can hit you. And this also doesn't take into the fact that Bardock has ki control, which lets him use all sorts of different blasts and energy beams, stuff that he could use to keep Omni-Man away from him if he were to ever even somehow approach to close that speed gap. Now, given that a fight animation would be a lot less entertaining if one opponent simply could never land a hit on the other, they are naturally going to let each other punch and kick and strike whatever during the fight to make it an entertaining fight. But the last 20 to 30 seconds of a fight is usually what the actual fight would look like. One speed blitzing the other or drastically overwhelming them with the power difference. Now, much like the things that could harm Omni-Man but were much weaker than the Coalition's Space Laser, I could similarly go down a list of things that Bardock would scale to or would be capable of that would give him the edge in every single category of combat minus experience. But I don't want this video to ramble on, and I don't want it to go on for another 10 minutes, so I think I'm going to end it here. Like I said earlier, you can find more accurate math and scaling on the Power Scaling Wiki and other forums similar to it. But this was just me throwing my hat into the ring to say that Death Battle got this episode wrong, in both its research and the outcome. Bardock would win this fight, even if he didn't have the Super Saiyan transformation. Alright, so that was the video, or at least the scripted part of the video. This last section is just going to be me rambling, because trying to do this in takes would just be annoying, and I feel like this is a little more authentic and nowhere near as robotic. I don't make a whole lot of YouTube videos, so I apologize if the way that I convey myself comes off as very static, but I am reading from a script and improving one or two words here and there that sound better when it's spoken rather than written. But I'm going to say that I'm a huge fan of shows like Death Battle, and it's always interesting to see how two characters, especially two characters that are similar to each other, would match up, or you take characters that haven't really fought against a certain type of power and see how they handle it. However, this has a glaring flaw with Death Battle. Death Battle is arguably the biggest and most well-known show in a versus/power scaling community type thing, and it is their responsibility to get things right or as right as they can, and if they get something wrong, to own up to it. You are the golden standard for when it comes to what people look for in a versus show in terms of quality and consistency and output. They have a responsibility to get something like this correct, or to get it as correct as they can. Because without that, who's going to keep them in check to just not do things correctly at all? And before, when they were a show that were sponsored by other things or were owned, they can kind of get away with getting things wrong. But if they consistently upset the community, I feel that this will have ripple effects. Death Battle went completely independent and got, I want to say that the next 10 or so episodes already funded, and that's fine. And then they're going to try, I believe, to get advertising and crowdfunding and donations to keep themselves afloat. The reason I am afraid of this is that if they keep getting episodes wrong or keep getting things wrong no matter what they do, people vote with their wallets. They will just stop supporting a show that they don't believe in anymore. It's not like something like Game of Thrones that was very good up until its ending. That had a whole production crew behind it and was already funded and given its money. This is a little different. They're actively being paid to do what they're supposed to do, and if they don't do it right, people are going to stop supporting it. So, there's that. Another thing is, at the end of the day, it is a show on the internet, it is for entertainment, and does this really affect my life? No. Does this make me lose sleep? No. Am I that upset at the outcome? Not really. I'm more upset at the fact that the outcome was wrong and not the outcome. I love both Dragon Ball and Invincible. Omni-man and Bardock are two amazing characters, and I love both of them almost equally. I like Dragon Ball a little bit more, but that's because I grew up with it. I didn't grow up with Invincible. However, I have grown a huge fondness for the show, and I love it and can't wait to see more of it. And I might even end up reading the comics a lot more in depth. So, the reason I'm saying all this is that I am not upset when the person I want to win doesn't win. There have been many episodes where whoever I wanted to win didn't win, and I was okay with that because it was still a good episode. Popeye vs. Saitama was a really fantastic episode. I loved it to pieces. I still do love it. I wanted Saitama to win, but he didn't, and that's okay. I'm okay with episodes not going how I want them to, but the problem is when it comes to things that just aren't correct. I know that there's a huge glaring thing online I've seen a lot of where this episode is now going to be the quote new Ben 10 versus Green Lantern. I really don't care about either of those characters, but if an episode is wrong, they need to correct it or do it more justice. It's not right to do that. Another episode where they got the right outcome but wrong research was Thanos versus Darkseid. I heard that they downplayed a lot of his feats, and Thanos lost. Don't get me wrong, Thanos would still lose, but they need to do things accurately and do things fairly. Yes, this is their show, they can do whatever they want with it, but sometimes it feels like when you're watching an episode, you can just kind of see the bias. And it hurts to see that. I love this show, and I'm going to continue to watch it, and I hope and pray that they do things right and take this as a big lesson learned. Because, yes, you are debating fictional characters in a fictional fight on a show. But these characters mean something to these people. You can't take them and betray what the character is by either being very disingenuous about how they would act or not being correct in your scaling and how you would explain their feats logically. People care about these characters. They love them. You can't do something with them that you shouldn't be doing. But that's all I'm going to say. I am certain that I will be back to make another video about the next episode of Death Battle, which is Joker from Persona versus Giorno from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I don't hide that I am a huge Persona fan, and I don't know much about JoJo's. So you can see where my bias might come in. However, I will do a follow-up video to explain where my bias would come from and what I'm afraid of. I am going to send that video out before the new episode comes out, and I'm going to hopefully be satisfied with the episode regardless of outcome. But that's all I have to say. I'm done yapping. I'm done rambling. I've been sitting here for about 6 minutes just speaking my mind into a mic. I do want to say, though, I thank you very much if you took the time to watch this video, especially until now. It does mean a lot to me, being a very tiny channel, and I don't know how much of a reach this is going to have, but I still felt passionate enough to make something like this. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you disagree with me, talk down in the comments below. Just try to be civil about it. Don't be a dick. I'm not going to respond to you if you're just going to go nuts and just be ridiculous. Be civil. Don't be unreasonable. Alright. Thank you. Take care. So, a real quick addendum. This is the next day that I'm recording this part after that last part. Also, this is unscripted, if you can't tell. So I just saw that apparently Death Battle posted a new pinned comment to the most recent episode, basically saying, hey, want to know how we got the results we did? Come check out our Death Battle cast on Thursday, which is, as I'm recording this right now, which is tomorrow. So that's going to be something interesting to go watch. A lot of people are riled up, very angry. So it is going to be interesting to see how they got their result. And I've got a feeling that they're basically going to just dodge around the question or make up some dumb justification for it. I really don't know. Something else that came to my attention earlier today is that apparently not only did they get a lot of their calculations wrong for feats and all that, but something that was actually kind of interesting is when they were showing the speed difference between Bardock and Omni-man. Omni-man was like something like, I think it's 20 billion times faster than light or whatever, something like that. But Bardock was in the trillions. So the reason they didn't accurately show it to scale, what I think is that if you look at just the bars, it looks like Bardock doesn't pass him until he goes Super Saiyan. They don't even show Great Ape on there as the scaling, but it's apparently that Bardock doesn't look like he goes past him until he goes Super Saiyan. But if you read the numbers, it's a lot. I think he's like 9 trillion in his base form or something like that. But regardless, the 50 times multiplier would outspeed it. And in a video that I saw, somebody said, like, if you were to actually properly scale these bars, you would see like a little sliver that would be Omni-man compared to Bardock's and fucking trillions times faster than light. So at that point, that just further emphasizes what I said earlier, is that, like, it doesn't matter how strong you are if you can't hit your opponent. You can never hit them. They will just wear you out. So, I don't know. It's just something. So I am certain that I will probably just get a live reaction to it tomorrow. I think that'd be the most interesting one. But I don't like to live react because I don't like ripping other people's content because it feels wrong. But I'm gonna. Now, I'm not going to react to it as it's live because I have a job. But I am certainly going to sit down and record it in OBS while I talk over it. So, see you guys tomorrow, I guess.